Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. It is a Monday. We're coming to you this mid-September, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. Malacanang has named some of the members of the independent commission that will focus on investigating anomalous flood control projects. However, some eyebrows were raised when Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong was appointed as advisor. As a wave of anti-corruption protests continues, an even bigger rally is expected this coming September 21. The Armed Forces of the Philippines is now on red alert, ready to assist the Philippine National Police should the need arise. And Senate President Tito Soto said the Senate investigation into flood control anomalies will not stop even with the creation of an independent commission. He stated that the Blue Ribbon Committee under Senator Ping Lacson will continue its hearings in aid of legislation. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first in the agenda, Malacanang has introduced 2 of the 3 members of an independent commission that will lead investigation into questionable flood control projects. Let's get to know them in this report.
2 days after the release of the executive order creating the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, the faces of 2 members of the 3-man investigating panel have now been revealed.
Rogelio Babe Singson, Commission Member. Rosana A. Fajardo, Commission Member.
Singson is a former secretary of the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH. He also headed the Bases Conversion and Development Authority, or BCDA. Meanwhile, Fajardo is a certified public accountant and currently the country managing partner of SJV and Company.
The President has appointed individuals of proven competence, integrity, and deep familiarity with infrastructure, finance, and institutional reform.
Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong will serve as special advisor to the Independent Commission. The mayor welcomed the appointment, saying his role will be apolitical. President Bongbong Marcos earlier stated that no politician will be part of the ICI to avoid conflict of interest. So far, no chairperson has been named for the Independent Commission.
House Infrastructure Committee co-chair and Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Dudon has expressed concern over the appointment of Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong as special advisor to the Independent Commission for Infrastructure. Ridon noted that Magalong had previously referred to some committee members as criminals, warning that this could cast doubt on the commission's impartiality. He clarified that he is not seeking Magalong's removal, but suggested he inhibit from cases where his past remarks could signal bias to protect the integrity of the investigation.
Even against our committee, meron siyang 3 mga sinabi na inuyurakan po yung integridad at reputasyon. Tinawag na kaming nagmamaang-maangan, tinawag niya kaming mga kriminal. So kailangan ma-shift through ng commission, alin po doon yung meron siyang mga pinangalanan na mga personalidad. Alin po doon yung meron siyang actual na mga proyekto, it might prejudice their investigation.
Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV likewise questioned Magalong's credibility and neutrality. He alleged that Magalong is a protector and ally of the Dutertes, raising doubts about his independence. Magalong, however, insisted he will set politics aside and remain fair as an investigator.
I cannot be political about it because as an investigator, talagang dapat you should set aside biases. Kasi pag nahaluan yan, naging political yan, wala nang credibility.
Senate President Tito Soto and Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson have dismissed rumors of another Senate leadership shakeup. On his social media account, Senator Lacson poked fun at the supposed rumor. He said if there's a song called Achy Breaky Hearts, this is nothing but fakey breaking news. Soto, for his part, called the talk very devious. He questioned why some want an immediate leadership change, even before the Blue Ribbon Committee, chaired by Lacson, has begun hearings. Now, despite the denials, the Senate majority remains thin, 15 senators against 9 in the minority bloc, led by Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. That's why, even after Soto's recent return to power, Lacson warned against underestimating the 9 minority senators. Several groups staged protests at the EDSA People Power Monument over the weekend to demand accountability for alleged corruption in flood control projects. Meanwhile, thousands are expected to join more rallies this coming September 21. More in this report.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines has placed all its units under red alert amid protests over alleged corruption in flood control projects. AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla said the alert has been in effect since September 12 as a precautionary measure. She assured the public there is no cause for alarm, saying the alert only means more personnel are on standby and leave is suspended. Padilla, however, warned against attempts to infiltrate or exploit the protests to steer violence or instability. Over the weekend, about 200 protesters gathered at the EDSA People Power Monument to demand accountability for the alleged anomaly. Kabataan Representative Rene Co, ACT Teachers Representative Antonio Tino, and groups like Pantay Sining, Kabataan Kontra Korupsyon, and Tindig Pilipinas led the rally.
Ayusin ang Independent Commission, gawing totoong independent ito. Ang panawagan naman sa Kongreso, bigyan ng totoong ngitin ang Independent Commission, bigyan ito ng subpoena powers, ng powers to contempt. At sa lahat ng mga politiko, gawin nyo ang spirit of the law, ilabas nyo ang mga salin nyo.
Tino added that President Bongbong Marcos should also be held accountable since all budgets passed through his office.
May kapangyarihan siya ng veto. So, ibig sabihin nun, pwede niyang kansilahin. Kung ginawa niya ang kanyang trabaho at inaral talaga yung budget na inaprubahan ng Kongreso. In fact, noong 2025, ginawa na niya. Nag-veto siya ng 26 billion pesos worth of flood control projects. Kaya palang gawin yon. Bakit? Kasi simula pa lang hindi ginawa. Kaya ang punto natin, ultimately, budget yan ng Presidente, may responsibilidad at pananagutan ang Presidente.
In a separate rally, concerned citizens and the Ilocano Defenders Party List demanded jail time for those allegedly involved in corruption.
Wala kaming pro, wala kaming kinakampihan. Ang amin lang, gusto namin managot kung sino ang korupsyon, kung sino na-involved sa pangungura, kung sino yung mga taong nasa likod nito.
Meanwhile, Transport Group Piston will hold a nationwide strike against corruption on September 18. On September 21, thousands are expected to join more rallies at Luneta and the People Power Monument.
Yung ayaw nating mangyari hanggat maaari, ayaw nating maging katulad tayo ng ibang bansa. Pero pag nakita ng taong bayan na pareho lang, walang pinagbago, wala pa ring mapapanagot, wala pa ring makukulong, tuloy ang ganyan, tuloy ang buhay nila. Asahan nyo po, hindi lang September 21, hindi dun matatapos, tuloy-tuloy na to.
Mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes, we are One News.
And coming right up, circulating on social media is PPCRV's Baha for Breakfast video, which asks Filipinos to vote against poor governance and demand accountability from leaders. Let's talk more about this with PPCRV spokesperson Ana De Villa Singson. Stay tuned, Morning Matters will be back. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. A video from the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, or PPCRV, is making rounds on social media. Titled Baha for Breakfast, it urges Filipinos to reject complacency toward poor living conditions and demand better governance through their votes. The video also calls on the public to keep pushing for change and holding leaders accountable.
Kakain na mga amo! Ay, naku, babagal naman. Sinigaan mo. Para kayong may alila.
Sermon ba almusal natin ngayon?
Eto na. Kape mo, mahal na hari.
Malamig pa to sa ilong ng pusa.
Ay nako, walang pagbabago. Ay, kumuha na naman ng ice coffee ko.
Hanapin mo. Hindi mo makikita yan kung paano ibibigang gamit.
Parang may mali.
Ano?
Ha? Si Donatella, nakawala na naman.
O, naghihintay na yung grasya, kakain na tayo. Magpapasalamat muna tayo. Tell bless tayo. Lord, maraming salamat po sa grasya na aming tinatanggap sa araw-araw. Salamat po sa pag-bless sa aming pamilya. Amen.
Hay, naku, Donatella.
Excuse me po, andyan na pa yung sundo ko. Sige pa.
Okay, sige.
Ingat.
And joining us this morning to talk about this video, we have Ana Singson, a senior trustee, National Communications and Media Head, spokesperson, and Voters Education Head of PPCRV. Magandang umaga sa'yo.
Good morning, good morning.
Okay, as of 8 a.m. this morning, your video, Baha for Breakfast, has gotten about 42,000 shares on Facebook, about 3.5 million views. What inspired the PPCRV to come up with this?
Before anything else, I would like to attribute the creative genius behind Baha, the ad, to our ad agency, TBWASMP. It is their creative conceptualization that brought this about. Actually, this is inspired by, well, the thrust of PPCRV. Our thrust is good governance. Our thrust is always one good vote. But sometimes people have a very difficult time connecting their vote with the effects on their lives. They think, I can vote anybody. It doesn't matter. It won't affect me individually. I think Baha is so symbolic of how directly one's choice of one's leaders can affect your daily life. Look at this. Baha is so normal, not just here in Marikina, in parts of San Juan. In so many places, they think, totoo na yung Baha. We've learned to live with it. But do we need to learn to live with that? We can vote in good leaders. We can vote in good governance. I mean, there is a culture of impunity going on around now, but do we have a part in the impunity by allowing it also? So this is sort of like a wake-up call, a challenge. How much of this are you going to accept? How much complacency will we allow before we say, no, this is not right? There are many good people out there. Let's choose them. Let's vote wisely. So that's
Perfect timing for a video with a strong message, no? But usually we do hear from PPCRV during elections, no? But this one came after the midterms. Do you plan to come up with more videos like these during the off season? And also, how long did it take you to come up with this ad?
We're actually in development with other agencies also, aside from TBWASMP, who created Baha. So yes, there are other campaigns coming out. You know, we've realized that, the elections, and that's what people should realize also, elections are not a one-time thing. They affect our lives, not just on May 12th, as it happened this year, but they affect our lives for the next 6 years, depending on who our leaders are. And this is a perfect example. Actually, this was launched we launched this in December last year, cooperation with TBWASMP. And in our social media, the tagline was, May ikagaganda ka pa, Pilipinas, sa Mayo 2025. Meaning, we can create a more beautiful Philippines, which doesn't have to accept horrible conditions like this if we only vote wisely. But we decided with TBWA and SNP that we would boost this because it's very relevant now with everything going on now. So yes, we will be continuing with other campaigns, also with other ad agencies whom we're discussing with right now, because citizenry and citizenry and civil involvement doesn't happen just once during elections. Because it really affects our lives. And these days, I'm normally a little more circumspect in what I say, but in this case, it's criminal. People are dying. Can we allow?
And you mean to say December pa itong ad na to, that the one that we're watching now? So
December.
nag-viral lang siya ulit.
Yes, but we started reboosting. It was the idea of
Okay.
TBWA SMP to start reboosting. So we've been boosting, especially since it's very, very relevant now. And it was really our hope and our plan that PPCRV is not just an events-driven organization that comes out only during elections, but even throughout, demanding accountability and especially voters' education. You know, what became so apparent with the issue now, and it comes out with their ad also, voters is so much needed because there is a breakdown of values. There's a horrible breakdown of values, and the moral compass is so skewed. So we have said that, you know, we will continue voters' education on values development even when there is no longer any elections, and this is part of the bid for that.
Ang galing nga ho, no? Kasi, tama kayo, no? Laging lumalabas yung tanong na, will we keep voting the way we've been voting for people in power who have somehow been complicit to the problems. Pero ayun nga, no, this ad reminds me of a soft drink commercial. Medyo parang same yung hues eh. Were they the same producers of that? And we do know that it does cost money to come up with those ads. So paano po kayo on that end?
You know, PPCRV always works with partnerships because on our own, we're just nagmamalimos all the time for funds. Because we're huge. We're 450,000 nationwide at 1.3 million, but we're always nagmamalimos. In this case, as I said, TBWA, SMP, they shouldered everything. So
wow.
I would like to give credit and so much appreciation to our friends and partners in TBWA. They thought about this. They funded it. This even came out in cinemas when it was launched in December and January, and they helped get those spots. Our role naman, because we're nationwide, caravan style, we go house to house. We're in all the parochial schools. We have played this nationwide in parochial schools and also through private organizations nationwide. And you're become prevalent, and it's even won several awards, very prestigious awards for its creativity and content, both here and internationally.
Ay, sakto po yung topic na pinili po ninyo. Yung po talaga yung maingay sa ngayon, ano?
You know, there was a survey that said that 53% of the Filipinos sell their vote. That's more than half of the Filipinos. And I'm not anyone to say anything because sometimes there's such immediacy of need that you grab at whatever you can. And there are needs and immediate finances required. But this, what's happening right now and what we're trying to show in Baha, shows you how directly your vote affects your life. It's no longer a faraway concept that, you know, I'm an individual, how will it affect me? Baha shows you exactly how close it is, and in fact, how close it is to you, and how your choices can make or break the next 6 years of our lives. So citizenry is not just during elections. Citizenry requires some accountability, even during the non-election period.
The PPCRV's more active presence is certainly welcome. But speaking of vote, you were part of the parallel count during the midterm elections. What were the findings from your group?
Well, the parallel count, we were involved in 2 counts. The first count is called the parallel count, which checks if what was transmitted, the transmitted vote is equivalent to the vote that came out of the counting machine, of the automated counting machine. In that regard, the counting machine was very accurate. There was it was 99.6% accurate. So very, very, very accurate. However, we noted that there were things that could have been improved. Like we noted that for the first time, we got so many calls because we have a call center. So many times for the first time, so many people were calling us saying, why did our votes come out as overvote? We did not overvote. We voted like less than 12 senators. Bakit overvote? So we did some investigations and we found out that the ink used in the ballot did not dry immediately. Because it did not dry immediately when it was entered in the automated counting machine, the rollers picked up some of that ink, which deposited themselves into the subsequent ballots which were being fed in. And that most probably accounts for it. We cannot really quantify it, but what we checked is what was the percentage of overvote? Because of course we got alarmed. Did it affect the vote? So we checked the percentage of overvote to see if it was something that would change the results. And the percentage of overvote at around 1.5% was roughly equivalent naman to the overvote in the past elections. So there. Still, that's something we should look out for in the next elections, that make sure that the materials used are good materials so that this does not happen again. And so voters don't question what happened to their vote. We were also involved in the random manual audit. We were the key civil society organization observing the COMELEC teachers do their count. This one naman, they check if the vote counting machines counted properly. So they do a manual check and then they compare it to the vote of the computers, of the automated counting machines. And the matching rate is also very, very high. So it looks like there was accuracy in the counting of the machine and accuracy also in the transmission. But as far as the transmission is concerned, there are improvements to be made in terms of the quality of the paper, the quality of the ink. But otherwise, very high matching rates naman.
And so overall, this was a better elections compared to the past. Is that your assessment?
Well, it's the highest, it was the highest match rate we've had so far. And on top of that, fastest in transmission. Very fast. Like we got results less than 3 days after, less than 36 hours after. We already knew who the winners were. So that is super, super fast. Compared to the first, compared to the very first in automated election, that was so slow. We were there for 2 weeks and it took long, and we only saw 93% of the vote. Here we were able to see over 99% of the vote. So transmission was very quick. Matching rate was the highest also. And as it was in the last election, there was no failure of elections anywhere. So we can say that it was pretty peaceful as well.
Do you also conduct surveys on how Filipinos casted their vote? I mean, ano yung pinagbabasehan nila when it comes to actually choosing for the candidates? Lalo na with the changing dynamics. I mean, if you go around every neighborhood, people are watching out for the hearings, turning it into somehow their teleserye. Meron ba kayong ganung pag-aaral?
Well, we had the latest study, and to your point of what people are looking for in their candidates, we had to develop our voters education campaign before the 2025 election. So we said, let's go back to values, because all of this is really, the root cause is really the absence of values, the corruption, everything is really absence of values. So we said, let's go back to values. So we did a nationwide survey and we asked people, if you could envision a model Filipino citizen, what are the top 5 values that you think that model citizen would have? And very interesting, the results. The first was Makajos. Of course, we're very Catholic, and whatever your religion is, we're very devout. Makajos. The second, very tellingly, was Makapat. The third was Magalang, Masipag, Matulungin, and a sixth came out, Makabayan. Then we added another one about being discerning, about being mapanuri, especially in terms of social media, when you don't know anymore if something is true or not, if it's fake or not. So we gave out primers also on how to determine that. So those are actually the top characteristics that voters are looking for if they're looking for a model Filipino.
So these are the values also that you will be centering on in your future campaigns. What are you hoping to make? Which videos? Meron na po ba kayong mga ideya?
We have books. Can I just show you? This is what I was saying, mapanuri ako, and then we have here, matapat ako. We have all the values I mentioned. We have one book for all of them, except for Makajos. How can you make a book on God? So he's in every single book of ours. So this has been distributed nationwide. We also have a tie-up with DepEd who cannot change the curriculum. It will take an act of Congress, we were told, but they very kindly put it on their website so that teachers could download it for their curriculum. Of course, we go parish by parish, and we've been really teaching this. So, seeing all of this, it just firms up our resolve. It firms up our determination to continue the values education program. It's hard. It's hard. It needs a lot of resources, but there are so many people willing to help. So we'll be going out there teaching house to house, parish to parish, podium to podium. We have to do that because once values go and once moral compass go, what kind of society do we have? A society that breeds, lack of respect, lack of honesty, everything that we talk about that the model Filipino should have.
Kamusta naman ho yung reception sa inyo? I mean, syempre, we do know that political talk is very sensitive here in the Philippines, especially with how partisan and polarized things are. Pagdating sa mga values, how do you talk about it and how's the reception? What is the effective method to talk about voters' education nowadays?
Let me be very clear. PPCRV guards everybody's votes. I tell everybody, to be simple, when we're briefing our new recruits, we are Switzerland. Wala tayong pinagkikilingan. So PPCRV is, as I said, we're Switzerland. We never name names. We will call out issues. We will call out issues like this, and you see us calling that out in our ad. But we will never name names, and we'll say you should vote for this, you should vote or that. We are apolitical in that sense because we without fear or favor. Whatever your color is, whatever your campaign color is, we will guard your vote with the same intensity. But with equal intensity as well, we will subscribe to our objective. And our objective is to have one good, clean vote. A vote that is conscience-driven, that is values-based. And because values, as I said, I believe that values or the lack of it now are at the core of it. We're really putting a focus on that. And we've been teaching it in schools and the reception has been very, very good. Like before the elections, I was flying all over the country. Our team, we have a team. We have a team of trainers. We fly around the country. We've trained students. We've trained even those who are in jail. We've trained everyone that we can possibly train in all the venues that we could possibly enter. And the reception, Baha was shown there, they get standing ovation sometimes and people clap for them a lot. People realize that we're not training them towards a certain ideology. We're training them towards values formation and values development. And then make your own decision based on your values. But please, they should be...
I like this emphasis on values, we seem to have already gotten callous with corruption that's been going around. Parang na-normalize na nga po, no? Kaya maganda pong pag-usapan muli. I mean, if you take a look at other countries and their reaction to corruption, it has stirred some violence. Hopefully not here in our country, but there have been calls for protests with big rallies coming up this September 21 and so on and so forth. Does it mean to say that PPCRV won't be in those rallies? I mean, kasi you choose to be non-partisan. And sa ngayon, ano nakikita ninyo na epektibong protest? What are your thoughts when it comes to that end? And the way Filipinos, I guess, do their own form of standing up to these ills?
Well, it's very sad what we're observing in Nepal and Indonesia, where, you see people being burned inside their homes. What I'd like to say is that's not the Filipino way, which is why we're saying values are important. And one of the big values we talk about is respect. Respect for others. Make it a respectful conversation. Make it a respectful conversation. Don't devolve into the lack of values that you are rallying against yourselves. Keep the respect all the time and stay within the Catholic doctrine, because PPCRB, after all, is a child of the church. It was born out of, it came out of the thinking of His Eminence Cardinal Sin way back, before year 2000 pa. Keep respect always. Citizens will always find their ways of expression, be it in social media, be it through rallying, but please, always with respect. Because in the end, it devolves to values or lack of it. And let's not let the perpetrators of the lack of values cause us to lose our own as well. So please, with respect always, with dialogue always, and with Christian and Catholic values and empathy always.
Do you think there is a momentum here that we can build on with medyo nagagalit na parang nagagalit na yung mga Pilipino din online ano against corruption specifically what do you think about that, the timing and what should be done at this? I mean, you reboosted your video.
We reboosted their video precisely because complacency. How long can we be complacent? I mean, it's people are talking to me, they're saying, we work hard, we work 9 to 5, we show up way past 9 to 5. Some people I know, they're working way till midnight. They're honest taxpayers and they say, our tax is going to this. It's infuriating. And people, I think Filipinos should remember sometimes, we're very easygoing, we forgive a lot. But there are times we have to take a stand and say, how much can we forgive? How much can we say, how much is okay? Until when can we say it's all right? But always, always in a respectful manner. As I say, find your manner of expression, but express it in a way where you don't lose the very values that you are trying to reinstitute into the system. We can't, violence, I don't think that's an option for the Filipinos. It's not us.
But for PPCRV, should we expect this bolder tone moving forward? And how do volunteers join your group? What is up next?
Join our group, you can volunteer. You can write us on ppcrv.org or just go to your parish center. In 95% of the parishes nationwide, there is a PPCRV. As for the bolder tone, I'd like to think naman we were always bold in calling out what is right and what is wrong. It's just that we're very lucky. We have the resources. We're very lucky. We have a partner with the creative thinking like EBWA. There are others. We've also been helped by others. Our TikTok campaign by APC, and there's another campaign that we're putting out now. It's just that again, we'd like to think. We'd like to be our conscience. We'd like you to remember that your one vote is so powerful. Because the thinking is, isang boto lang naman ako. Ano bang magagawa kong kaibahan? But if you band together, and this is what I was telling all the students when I would travel nationwide before the campaign, you are 35% of the vote. You are 1/3 of the vote. Your vote put together can change the entire landscape. So vote is a good vote. Every vote is a powerful vote. And as you can see now, it does affect you very directly. So use that one good vote and use the values to go back to model Filipino citizenry.
Well, let's continue making these values go viral and calling out corruption, of course. Congratulations on a wonderful ad, a little bit of moment marketing there from PPCRV. Good timing and good message. Thank you so much for being with us and explaining the latest from the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting. We have Ana Singson, Senior Trustee and National Communications and Media Head, Spokesperson and Voters Education Head. A lot of hats for PPCRV. Maraming salamat. Up next, despite a newly formed independent commission, the Senate vows to continue its investigation into the allegedly anomalous flood control projects. Let's discuss that and more with Senator Sherwin Gatchalian when Morning Matters returns after a quick break. Keep it here. Good morning, I'm Reshanon here at Morning Matters. We talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. The Senate will press on with its investigation into alleged anomalies in flood control projects despite the creation of a new independent commission. Senate President Tito Soto said the Blue Ribbon Committee, chaired by Senator Ping Lacson, will continue its hearings in aid of legislation. Now, the next hearing is set for Thursday, September 18. This comes after President Bongbong Marcos signed Executive Order 94, creating the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, which will probe irregular government projects. And joining us today to answer some questions on that, we have on the show Senator Win Gatchalian, Chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. Good morning. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
Thank you, Gretchen. Good morning to our televiewers.
Hey, Senator, first of all, your reaction to the names that floated over the weekend, the appointment of Babe Singson and Rosana Fajardo to this Independent Commission for Infrastructure. Do you think they bring the right balance of expertise and independence here?
Well, Secretary Singson brings in experience both from the private and from the government sector. When I was a mayor, I actually had an opportunity to interact with him, and I know he's very strict. In fact, he will tell you if it's not possible. I remember talking to him about some projects for Valenzuela, but he said it's not possible. So in other words, he's a very straightforward, very strict guy, and that's what we need in terms of analyzing what really happened in DPWH. And he also brings in that experience within government, because government, especially DPWH, is a very complicated, it's a very complex organization. So you need to know, you need someone who knows the ins and outs of DPWH. As to the person from SGV, I think this is also important, considering that a lot of these documents are actually very, very complicated as well. You need to tie up different types of documents in order to know whether there is fraud or not. So you need people who can sift through or analyze the documents thoroughly, and you need people who have technical knowledge to do that. So the team from SGV can bring that to the table.
Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong was named special advisor of the ICI, but his role has already drawn criticism, particularly from Congress, citing that he has already made bold statements in public, calling some lawmakers criminals. Do you believe that he is still the right person to spearhead the investigation?
I think more importantly is his dual role as a mayor and as a person who will advise the ICI. Like I said, I was a mayor before. A mayor's job is not only full-time but double time or triple time. You really need to focus on your city because the city evolves every single hour, every single minute. You know, we have problems every single minute. So I think he needs to decide whether he wants to be the mayor or he wants to pursue this ICI role. But it's going to be very complicated to have dual role because both roles are very important and it deserves full-time attention.
Actually, ang sabi niya, hindi siya pwede maging officially part of this committee dahil nga siya ay person in power. Pero may iba naman na may agam-agam na he's a very close ally of the Dutertes and that he may spare people in that time. Ano po ang thoughts po ninyo doon?
That's another issue to contend with, Gretchen. Politics. As politicians, we have our own political leanings, we have our own political beliefs. So the first statement of the president saying that he will not appoint a politician is actually a very good statement. We should get people who are bureaucrats, technocrats, as well as with no political leanings, because we don't want to throw political shade into the investigation. That's a very it will create a lot of doubt whether the investigation being pursued is indeed impartial or not. So if you ask me, this is my own personal opinion, I would rather appoint a technocrat or a person with technical, very deep technical know-how. For example, engineers or someone who knows the law or someone who knows how to audit, so that when you pursue this, it's purely impartial.
Sabi nga nung iba, no, sana may lawyer din thrown into the mix.
Maybe
Because,
the third commissioner will be a lawyer. I think because you have someone from the technical side, from the audit side. I think you need also someone from the legal side
legal.
because eventually the ICI will pursue and recommend filing of cases. Now we have to know what cases to file para hindi matalo actually.
Meron na ba kayong naririnig ng pangalan?
Wala pa naman. Wala pa. May mga na-float, no? But I think it will be announced shortly, so we can just wait for that.
Okay, with the ICI now in place, how would this affect the Senate's investigation? Paano kaya magiging complementary po yun? Kayo po ba mag-work together or will that your probe remain independent?
Actually, if you look at the facts and leads that were given related to this ghost projects and also this corrupt DPWH officials, everything came from Senator Lacson. So the leads came from him. So I think it's good that the Senate, through the Blue Ribbon Committee, will pursue that because the leads came from him. So if we can go deeper into those leads to find out more information, and then later on that information will be passed on to the ICI, then at least the ICI will not start from zero. No, because what we want is immediate prosecution of those who committed corruption. And at the same time, the Senate's goal is to produce legislation to plug the gaps. Everything we do here is in aid of legislation. So the output of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee will be in the form of pieces of legislation.
There is an impression here that both the House and the Senate are drawing battle lines. I mean, pag dinignan mo yung investigasyon sa House, may dalawang senador na inimplicate. Pagdating naman po dito sa Senate investigation, may mga congressman. Paano po kaya? I mean, what are your thoughts when it comes to that? And that power struggle was evident in the way that the case of Bryce Hernandez was dealt with, na nagkaroon ng parang argument over his custody, where he ended up in the Pasay City jail. Ano po ang palagay niyo doon?
Two things, Gretchen. Number one, it's timely that the ICI has already been formed. So let the independent commission pursue deeper investigation and recommend cases to be filed against erring officials, including legislators, kung meron. No? Because all of these names came out and a lot of these politicians were implicated. So the ICI can pursue this independently without any political favor. So, and that's what we need. We need to, the goal here, Gretchen, is to bring back the confidence of the people. Nawala yung tiwala ng tao eh. So we bring back the confidence of the people through this independent investigation. And if the independent investigation will come up with names, then even politicians, then so be it. We have to pursue that. And then number two, we need to continuously vet the statements of Diskaya and even Hernandez. We need to continue to go to investigate their statements. We cannot take it hook, line, and sinker because we don't know whether they are being used so that they will throw ililihis by attention. They will throw a monkey wrench into the investigation. So we need to continuously vet. Although the leads are noted, but we need to make sure that it's investigated properly.
But do you agree with sending Bryce Hernandez to the Pasay City Jail? Marami po kasing nangangamba sa kanyang safety. Even Senator Laila De Lima, or Congresswoman Laila De Lima said na congested doon at baka madelikado po ang kanyang buhay. Lalo na napakabigat din ng mga sinabi niyang pangalan.
Well, the Senate has custody. So it's so in other words, the Senate has responsibility over Mr. Hernandez. So in other words, accountable ang Senado on his safety. No? So and the Senate has put people there 24/7. So to make sure that he is safe, to make sure that he's properly attended to. But in terms of jurisdiction and custody, it's the Senate that has that.
Oo, ano po yung naging pag-uusap po niyo dito sa caucus when it comes to that part, no? And is he in a separate room at least to make sure that he will be safe?
I have no information whether he's in a separate room, but definitely the Senate has 24/7 eyes and ears inside Pasay City Jail. Nagawa na yan in the past. No? This is not a unique case. So we normally, if we need additional security or there's a need to move people who are cited in contempt to another facility, we have done that in the past. No, the Senate holding room or the Senate detention room is not very big. No, so there are cases that we transfer them to another facility.
Of course, the Senate also has to manage the public perception on influencing resource persons, which was the point of the debate here. I mean, will you summon Bryce Hernandez to the next hearing again? And how do you continue to manage that and how the Senate deals with this?
Well, definitely, no. He has information. Well, allegedly, he has information that can be pursued in order to exact accountability. So definitely, he will be part of the investigation later on.
Which leads me to my next question. If you see Senate President Tito Soto, it seemed that he was caught in a bind when it comes to this issue, knowing that he holds a very thin majority, as mentioned by Senator Ping Lacson. But there were rumors over the weekend that Senator Alan Peter Cayetano was challenging the Senate presidency. Is there truth to that, and have you been approached?
Well, at least for me, I haven't talked to anyone yet. I was very busy over the weekend reading the budget because the budget deliberations ongoing, and so we don't have any. Personally, I don't have any. I didn't have any interaction with anyone, and as far as I know, the senators are looking also for stability in leadership, and right now with all of these things happening, Senate President Tito Soto brings that to the table. So that we can already pursue our legislative activities such as budget deliberation and other bills. So in my opinion, at least in my case, the Senate President Tito Soto is on very stable ground.
And you retained the chairmanship of the Senate Committee on Finance, which overlooks and has oversight on public spending. Kayo daw po, nag-usap daw po kayo ni Senator Ping Lacson and Tito Soto na ikaw ang eagle eyes or you will keep an eagle eye on this budget. And you cited that the NEPS has, or the General Appropriations Bill has numerous red flags. Ano po nakikita niyo po doon sa budget habang inaaral po ninyo?
Well, ako lang naman yung nagli-lead, no? But all of us senators have a responsibility to make sure that the items in the budget are valid and accurate. No, so I think lahat naman kami eagle-eyed in terms of making sure that the budget is being processed with accuracy and integrity. That said, yes, during one of the hearings, I think during the DBCC hearings, we came up with 6 red flags in the flood control projects. Red flags such as double items, repeated items. For example, the project has been implemented in the past and then it showed up again in the 2026 budget. There are budgets that were cut into smaller pieces such as packages or phases. So these are the things that we need. We call it red flags. And the DPWH needs to explain this further or give us a valid reason why they did that. Or else, for us, that is a hazard that we need to remove from the budget because it is prone to corruption.
Help us understand more on the topic of insertions. Kasi alam po natin na sa proseso ng pagdaan ng bill na yan sa Kongreso at sa Senado, may mga lobbying na nangyayari. So ano po yung are insertions considered red flags, and is there a legal type of insertion? Kasi I remember Senator Tito Soto or Senator Lacson said na tinawagan daw ng DPWH USEC si Senator Tito Soto at tinatanong kung anong gustong i-insert dito nga sa infra. So, hindi po ba parang normal yun na may ganyang lobbying? Where do you draw the line, in short?
That's a very good question, Gretchen. In fact, a very important question. Insertions and amendments are interchangeable, and it's being used interchangeably and loosely because it's pretty much the same. When you amend, basically you include projects in the National Expenditure Program. Now, amendment is part of the power of the purse, and that's enshrined in the Constitution. So Congress and the Senate, being given the power of the purse through the Constitution, can amend items. So like for example, in my case, over the past years, I've amended, pero pabawas. I've removed budget from different agencies because I find them incongruent with the mandates of those agencies. It's not in line with the mandate of those agencies. So we would remove budget and put it somewhere else. Now, when you put somewhere else, this is also important because you want to coordinate, or the proponent wants to coordinate, the proponent needs to coordinate with the agency so that the agencies are also alerted that you are amending or adding budget to their agency so that that addition can be implemented. If you don't alert them, doon na lumalabas yung mga projects na walang feasibility study, walang lupa, walang MOA, and that becomes a problem because you cannot implement it. Kahit na may pondo, it takes time to implement, and by the time you implement it, it's already end of the year. No? So nasasayang yung pera.
So normal po itong pag-uusap ng mga senador at mga congressman dito sa mga departamento?
For me, when you amend, you have to justify it. Whether amending to add budget or amending to reduce budget, you have to justify it. It has to be, number one, implementable. Dapat ma-implement yan right away. Number two, it's needed by the constituents. Number three, it's needed by the agency. Number four, it's coordinated through, with the LGU and also the agency. So all of these things should be present in order to make that amendment productive. Or else, mag-amend ka lang, pero hindi naman magamit-gamit. And the other one is also, now that it's coming up, there's also allegations that politicians amend the budget because meron silang cut SOP from that budget. So that's another allegation that we are investigating right now, no? Because ang mga accusation right now is politicians amend the budget or insert in the budget, and then later on sila rin mag-i-implement ng budget o sila makakakuha ng SOP from that budget, no? And
So,
that's
in short,
blatantly illegal.
Oo. Sa tingin po nyo, may sabit kaya itong si DPWH USEC Cabral sa kanyang pagtatanong o wala? Because yun nga parang parte yun nung coordination na yun. And also in line with that, pati yung pag-uusap ni Senator Joel sa DPWH kay DE Henry Alcantara.
We need to go deeper into that, no? Of course, kasama yan sa investigation. We need to get the statements from both parties. It's very hard to make a judgment right now because you only hear one side but you haven't heard the other side. So we need to hear both in order to come up with judgments. But basic lang, no? Basic lang. If a legislator wants to amend, you have to make sure that all those 4 items that I mentioned are present. It's coordinated, it's needed. Number 2, it's the other one is it's requested by your constituents, and it's implementable. Kasi if it's not implementable and you put money there are cases, ako narinig ko ito, there are cases that legislator would put items in an agency, pero sasabihin naman ng agency, hindi naman namin kailangan yan. Or that's already obsolete, no? Hindi na namin kailangan yung item. Then sayang lang yung pera. So you need to coordinate with the agencies as well.
Okay. And with that, paano po kaya, what reforms are you seeing here coming out of both the Senate probe and the Commission's work to prevent similar anomalies and strengthen checks and balances?
This is a systemic problem, so you need a systemic solution. And the systemic solution here is to fix it from step one all the way to the last step. Meaning, from the point you bid out the project, you need to make sure that's transparent. In fact, use electronic means or digital means to already bid out. Hindi na mano-mano ngayon. From the time it's awarded, it has to be electronic. From the time that it's monitored, it's being audited, everything should be electronic. So, in my opinion, the systemic solution here is to fix the system itself, from start to end. And one of the things that I will propose later on is to make sure that everything is done digitally through the internet so that everything is transparent.
So you are for open data for all infrastructure projects?
Yes, definitely. In fact, in the new procurement law, that's already mandated. But we need to push DPWH to implement that digital or internet-based bidding and awarding.
May bilang panghuli, you floated the idea of scrapping the flood control budget altogether, 270 billion in allocations for flood mitigation. Ano po yung posibilidad na ganun nga po ang direksyon ng Senado, tatanggalin na lang?
Well, yan ang agreement namin. Mostly that's the sentiment of the senators to remove the 270 billion from the flood control projects and put it to education. We still have a lot of requirements in for classrooms, for textbooks, for daycare centers. So generally, the senators are open to the idea of moving it to education. But I heard the president, he also wants to add some amounts to health, which I agree. Over the weekend, nandito si President sa Valenzuela to celebrate his birthday, and he visited our local hospital. And a lot of our local hospitals, DOH hospitals, a lot of the DOH hospitals are underfunded. So one of the things that we're also looking at is to fund and upgrade DOH hospitals.
Hindi po kaya, these projects, some of the projects are still ongoing. Hindi kaya maantala o maging rason to ng pag-antala, lalo ng mga infra projects, because they can just say, wala naman kaming budget itong taon for that, for flood mitigation.
If you look at the flood control project, it still has 350 billion pesos remaining from previous years. So, in other words, this coming year, hindi naman mawawala yung flood control. They will still spend 350 billion. So there will be flood control projects in 2026, albeit coming from previous budgets. And also the reason why there's leftover, because DPWH now is strictly monitoring and analyzing the leftover budget for flood control. And that's the proper thing to do. Wag lang implement. Just make sure that these projects are effective.
Siyempre, hindi lang po flood control, pati yung ibang infrastructure projects ngayon, binibring up na rin, katulad ng mga farm-to-market roads, at iba pa. Pati yun po ba ay sisilipin din po ninyo? O
Yeah, definitely. Marami lang talaga siya. We're talking about more than 15,000 line items. So I actually just talked to the Asian Institute Management Data Science group. So I talked to their chief data scientists. We're using, I told them that, it's physically impossible for us to look at more than 50,000 projects. So they will help us analyze the 15,000 plus projects using data science and artificial intelligence. So this will be the first time that the budget will undergo scrutiny of data scientists and using technology to find out whether the projects are with red flags or not effective or nadodoble-doble.
What kind of data are you hoping? What kind of data are you hoping to get from that? What is the name of the group?
It's part of the Asian Institute of Management. They have a team there of data scientists. They are actually helping us in EDCOM, in the Education Commission. So this group, I tapped them to help us analyze the budget. So, because kung mano-mano lang, it's not going to take time eh. So we need
Pero
technology,
paano?
we need computers to analyze it.
How do you figure that out from the numbers?
So they will feed, the National Expenditure Program is in Excel format, so they will just feed that to their algorithms, and they will also have algorithms, let's say on flood-prone areas, on areas that are perennially flooded, and they will match it. So they will develop an algorithm just to analyze the budget.
Makikita rin po ba dito yung pagbabago ng mga numero from, pag pinasa pa sa
Actually,
ito?
the focus will be on the 2026 budget, but we will not limit it to the previous budgets later on.
Okay, we hope we could also see the results of that. Hopefully, it does help you guys make better decisions moving forward. Kayo po ang tinuturong math wizard daw ng Senado. Sabi na leadership yon. Okay. Maraming salamat. Thank you so much for sitting down with us and helping us understand that. Thank you so much for your time today. We have Senator Win Gatchalian. He is, of course, the sitting chairman of the Senate Finance Committee and has oversight over the budget. Maraming salamat for joining us on Morning Matters. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Hall. We are One News, all sides, all the time.